step up. Has Boss Elite finally decided to join the table and be a true respectable player in the car audio industry? Check out their new line of head units with monitors up to 14 inches, smartphone features, Sirius XM radio, 4-volt pre-outs, and more. Okay, show us what you got. For many years, Boss Audio, not to be confused with Bose, has provided an alternative to major brands like Alpine, Kenwood, and Pioneer in the car audio industry with products such as head units to speakers and amplifiers. Now, in order to provide lower price points, you have to give up something, of course, and that would be quality. Now, the guys over at Boss, who so happen to be right in our backyard in beautiful Oxnard, California, say they have been making some major moves in personnel and product development. And they're lessening the gap from top-tier brands like the ones I just mentioned, whose pricing is at a premium, and budget brands whose pricing is much less, but lesser quality, all without increasing pricing. They really haven't let us in on exactly what they're doing over there, but I can say when visiting the booth at Knowledge Fest out in Vegas, I was pretty impressed. The finish on the amplifiers and speakers were much better than prior year's models, and I was surprised by the sound quality as well. But what piqued my interest the most was the line of head units we're going over today. We got our hands on their 12-inch floating panel head unit, and we're going to be examining this thing to see if they are indeed closing the gap while maintaining great value. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's see if we can answer these three questions. Number one, will they maintain the same pricing as previous generations? Number two, is the improvements in these head units noteworthy? And number three, how well do they perform? Now let's talk about some of the improvements from previous generations. Okay, so on these head units, you're gonna get time alignment, a faster processor, two-way crossovers, including bandpass, hard buttons on the bottom, a camera button right on the face of the radio, a new and improved user interface, ambient lighting, XM Sirius ready, and an IPS LCD display. Now, IPS stands for in-plane switching, which changes the behavior of the LED liquid crystals to produce a more sharper, more accurate picture. Okay, so let's answer our first question because this one's easy. Are they going to be the same pricing as previous generations? And the answer is yes. The pricing is the same as last generation's models. So the 7-inch wired is $229. The wireless is $299. The 9-inch wired is $329. Wireless, $419. The 10.1 wired is $399. And the wireless is $489. And the new 12 and the 14 are both wired and wireless, and they're $599 and $699. So as far as features go, they're exactly the same across the board, except for the wireless smartphone features on the ones just mentioned. So let's just fill the gaps and go over the rest of the features not mentioned yet. Okay, Bluetooth hands-free for both phone calls and music streaming. The floating panels are single DIN, multicolor illumination buttons and lighting. AM/FM receiver, of course, with RDS. Built-in DSP with 13-band equalizer. Steering wheel interface ready. A front USB-C port for media and 1.5 charging, and a rear USB-A port for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Also AV inputs, rear and front cameras, 4-volt pre-outs, front, rear, and sub, and an external microphone. Okay, so let's unbox this thing and check it out. All right, so let's take a look. Here's the screen. Again, this is the 12-inch, so we'll be taking a look at that. I really want to examine this real quick. So the hard buttons on the bottom are actually really nice. I like the way they feel, and then they also give you the knob. That's great, and then the push button in the center. The mounting is very similar to the previous models, so basically this just will plug into the body. But overall, it's got a nice fit and finish so far. Okay, let's keep going. All right, we got the GPS antenna, harness, external Bluetooth mic, and then this is probably for the steering wheel control. Yeah, so this is steering wheel control input, and then you got some brackets and hardware, along with the keys to remove it. Okay, let's take a look at the body. All right, so very similar to last year's model as far as the finish is concerned. It's just the body, not super impressive. You have the cage here and on all your inputs and outputs right on the back of this. And then you also have a little Wi-Fi antenna. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and plug this in. I can say this, our installers do like the way that these install versus some of the other major brands. The other major brands, they kind of make you go through some hoops and you have to screw it in, adjust it, and then put brackets over it in order for it to actually turn on. But this one just plugs right in, and then you also can move this thing around so it articulates pretty easily. You know, do have to give it a little pressure so it's not going to be wobbling down the road, you know, if you hit a bump or something. Very similar to the way that they mounted last year. Okay, so that's what it looks like from the side. All right, so let's go ahead and light this thing up and see how it performs. Okay, so just right off the bat, I can tell that this is a much better screen than they had in the past because it's much sharper for sure, hands down. The blacks are really deep. The lines are clean. So very, very good first impression here. Let's go ahead and go through this. On this screen, the blue is really nice and bright. It's clean. I'm very impressed with this screen. Whereas last year's model, I was not impressed with the screen so much. You were able to get in there and adjust it a little bit to make it better, but just right off the bat, you can tell this is much cleaner, much better resolution. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, so let's go into the settings. All right, so here are some general settings. Okay, I won't go through everything. I'll just go through the important things. Let's go to audio. All right, we got loudness, on or off, subwoofer, on or off. Let's check out the EQ, I'm interested in that. So we have a 14 band equalizer here. So if we turn it on, we can go to custom. There are some preset EQ curves in here already, but let's just go ahead and go to custom. Let's pick a frequency and let's move up and down. So definitely a lot quicker than the past, okay? Now you can't do this like the JVC and Kenwoods are able to, but it's quick, so you just select and then move. And there's not really a lot of delay going on there. So that's very nice, excellent. Okay, so let's go to crossover settings. Okay, so main audio. So we have here our crossover points for high pass. We didn't have that in the past. All you had was subwoofer level, that's it. So now we have high pass up to 250. You also have the slope, which is -6, -12, or -18. Now, so one thing you need to know is there is no front and rear, okay? So your main audio source, that's gonna be your front and rear combined. So you won't have the ability to do that. Whereas with the Alpine, the Kenwood, JVC, and Sony, you're able to adjust the front crossover independent from the rear crossover, okay? Not necessarily that huge of a deal, but you don't get that, okay? Now there is a bandpass here as well. So if you wanted to do bandpass, you can select your low pass here and create a bandpass. All right, most people are not gonna do that. So let's just go ahead and turn that off. And then let's go over to the subwoofer. All right, so you have your subwoofer filter or crossover that goes down to 50 Hertz and all the way up to 160. And then you have a subwoofer level that goes all the way to 14. And then it goes down to 1, okay? Next, let's go to the time alignment. This is a new feature that they added as well. So this is 5-channel time alignment. You have front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and then the subwoofer. This is done in milliseconds, opposed to distance. Now there is a chart online that you can get that will convert milliseconds to distance. Okay, and I don't think you're able to change that over here. So you will need to do some calculations. All right, and you do have some presets as well for your time alignment settings. Okay, so far so good. I really like what I see. All right, so let's keep going here. And then you got your system volume, main volume, Bluetooth ringer. I think that's important. Bluetooth call, that's important. Nav, that's important. Voice, that's important. So all that's adjustable here. So for instance, if you're riding down the road, you listen to your music loud, and then your phone rings, you can set it to where it's not as loud, so it's not as annoying. And then you have your source level as well that you're able to adjust. Okay, let's go to display. All right, so let's go here to wallpaper. Here's some wallpaper that you can select. All right, so let's just select that real quick and see how that looks. Let's go back to the home. All right, so I'm seeing the wallpaper. It's kind of in the back. I don't, it's kind of funky. I'm not sure why the wallpaper doesn't go all the way. I can see it behind here, but it's not very much though, which is kind of weird. Okay, so maybe we'll figure that out along the way. All right, so here you're able to adjust the gamma day and night, and then also brightness. So right now, I can actually make the blacks deeper if I wanted to, so that even looks much better. And then on here, if I wanted to change the lighting here, I would just take off the animation effect, which cycles through these colors. And if I wanted to just say, have it blue, I just tap blue and then it would stay there. Okay, so the bottom lamp, you can actually turn that on or off. So if that's a little annoying for you in the vehicle, you don't like that ambient lighting, you can turn it off, or you can even lessen it here. So you have the ability to brighten it, lessen it, so you got complete control over that. Definitely a nice feature. All right, so we have Bluetooth settings here, not a big deal. Let's keep moving. Radio, RDS, on or off, choose the continent you're on. All right, so let's talk about camera inputs. Of course, you got a rear camera. This gives you the front camera as well. If we turn that on or activate it, what we can do is this. If we're in the home screen per se and we're moving along and we want to see the front, we can just simply on the front of the screen, tap front, and that'll give us the front camera. And then if we tap rear, that'll give us the rear camera. Okay, so a little bit of a delay there, not a big deal. There's also a hard button with the camera. So if you tap that, it looks like that defaults to the rear camera. And if you tap it again, okay, it doesn't go to the front. So in order to get to the front, you are going to need to tap front here, okay? All right, cool. All right, you have your guidelines, reverse trigger delay, and then about is gonna give you all your software. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some of the smart features. So this has wired and wireless Apple CarPlay. All right, very, very impressive. This screen, if you were to tell me this is a screen for a JVC or a Kenwood, I would say, yeah, no problem, because it looks good. Previous models, you can definitely tell the difference between a Boss screen and a major brand screen. There is no difference here. Actually, this might even look better than some of the lower end Pioneers for sure. Okay, so I love this screen. It looks great. You see it's very responsive, very quick. You got Waze populated on here. Everything looks good. Spotify. Okay, RU Music is gonna be here. Nice and quick, not much delay. So very impressive, very, very impressive looking screen for sure. Let me talk about the buttons too. So, and they do have a nice feel for them. So I do like that. And they give you some buttons that make sense. So you have the Siri button here, the home button, answer the phone, track up and down. Knob is gonna be the volume, of course. This speaker is gonna take you to your audio, and then you got your camera, and then this will go directly to navigation. So you got some really, really nice features, very, very thought out. A lot of times the layout on the Boss radios, the user interface wasn't as thought out as this radio actually is. So just beyond the screen, beyond the extra features, the way it's laid out, the way it's thought out, I think Boss has done a great job. Kudos to you guys, Boss. You guys are on the right path, for sure. Okay, so let's check out the sound quality. One of my main concerns with Boss is the sound quality is not quite as good as some of the other brands that are out there. So if you're setting up a system with me, I'm not gonna point you towards a Boss radio. We're gonna look at an Alpine, a Kenwood, a JVC, a Sony, or a Pioneer. All right, so let's see if things have really changed and we can rely on Boss for being our head unit when it comes to adding speakers and amplifiers and subwoofers. Okay, let's check it. Okay, so I can say this, the sound quality on this radio is definitely better than the old Boss radios. It's definitely cleaner. The bass is nice, good mid-range. So for me, this does sound really good. Now the biggest question is, does it sound good as some of the other big guys out there, Pioneer, Alpine, Kenwood, the ones we mentioned before? So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna actually go over to the Pioneer, play the same song, and see what kind of result we get. So let's check that out. Okay, so the Pioneer does sound better, but then again, this is a $1,500 unit versus a $600 unit. So there's a huge difference in price. But I can say this, I would set up a nice system off of a Boss radio where in the past I wouldn't have. Now listen to me, I'm not saying, hey, let's do some Blam speakers or some Audison speakers on a Hertz amplifier or a Helix amplifier. But hey, listen, we can do some mid-grade stuff off some mid-grade speakers and still get a good system with that Boss radio. If we're doing a high-end stereo system, of course, we're gonna recommend doing a high-end radio like the Pioneer. Okay, so let's answer our 3 questions. Number 1, same price, so we're good with that. Number 2, are the improvements in the head units noteworthy? So you got time alignment, 2-way crossovers, including bandpass. These were much needed audio processing features missing in pre-generations. You got the hard buttons, which include the camera button on the face, which is really nice. The ambient lighting is cool, and the Sirius XM Ready is a feature that lots of Sirius XM subscribers prefer over using their smartphones to receive broadcasting. So the answer is yes. And finally, number 3, how well does it perform? Faster processor makes it easier to search around, and the new user interface is very thought out. And the sound quality over the old Boss radios is definitely considerable, but not quite as good as that $1,500 Pioneer. Now, the Boss Audio Elite brand has hired top talent from across the industry to design and market their new line of products. Many of the talent comes from top-tier companies, and it definitely shows. Now, of course, it doesn't have the same feel and sound quality as the DMH-W8600 NEX that we compared it to, but that unit is more than double the money, and this is a great alternative to top-tier head units while still maintaining great functionality and sound quality. Leaps and bounds above last generation's head units. Okay, that's gonna do it. My name is Josh from Breaker Stereo and Performance. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.